Randy Macho Man Savage wasn't just a wrestler. He was a living explosion of charisma, an icon whose voice, presence, and unmatched athleticism defined an entire era of WWE. But on a quiet Florida morning in 2011, everything changed. A sudden crash, a shattered Jeep Wrangler, and a death that still leaves more questions than answers. How did one of wrestling's most powerful, most energetic, and seemingly unstoppable legends die so unexpectedly? Why did the accident happen? What was happening inside his body just seconds before the crash? And why do so many people believe his death wasn't as simple as it appeared on paper? Tonight, we're diving deep into the timeline, the last hours of his life, the mysterious medical condition that remained hidden, and the theories that still haunt wrestling fans around the world. This is the unnatural and mysterious death of Macho Man Randy Savage. Randy Savage was more than a wrestler, he was a phenomenon. With his unmistakable raspy voice, colorful outfits, and electrifying ring style, he became one of the biggest names in the golden age of professional wrestling. Born Randall Mario Poffo in 1952, he came from a wrestling family and quickly rose to fame with unmatched intensity. Whether he was dropping his signature flying elbow, cutting outrageous promos, or captivating millions with his chaotic energy, Savage was the definition of entertainment. His rivalry with Hulk Hogan, his unforgettable partnership with Miss Elizabeth, and his legacy as a multi-time world champion made him a global sensation. But behind the costumes, fame, and charisma, Savage lived a complex life full of personal battles, emotional pressure, and physical wear from decades in the ring. As he aged, he withdrew from the spotlight, living quietly in Florida. No one knew that his life was ticking toward an irreversible turn. In the years leading up to his death, Randy Savage had become extremely private. He no longer sought the spotlight and rarely made public appearances. Fans wondered why a superstar so deeply connected to wrestling had stepped away completely. Savage focused on simple things, family, peace, and a life far removed from the chaos of the 80s and 90s wrestling world. He remarried, lived modestly, and often traveled around his local Florida community. Yet even though he appeared calm and content, close friends noticed he wasn't the same physically. He gained weight, he looked tired, and he moved differently. Though he never publicly complained about health issues, something was clearly happening, something he chose to keep to himself. On May 20th, 2011, Savage woke up early, as he normally did, and prepared to drive with his wife, Lynn, in his Jeep Wrangler. Reports say it was an ordinary morning, nothing unusual, nothing alarming. He got behind the wheel and began driving through Seminole, Florida. The roads were calm, the weather was clear, and there was no sign that anything tragic was about to happen. But as Savage drove southbound on Highway 694, something suddenly went terribly wrong. Without warning, his Jeep veered across the median, crossed into oncoming lanes, and crashed headfirst into a tree. No skid marks. No attempt to brake. No sign of swerving to avoid something. Just a straight, uncontrolled drift. A movement consistent, not with human error, but with a medical crisis happening in real time. The crash looked violent, but investigators immediately noticed something strange. Savage did not die from the collision. In fact, the crash itself wasn't severe enough to be fatal. Instead, the medical examiners discovered the real cause. Randy Savage had suffered a sudden massive heart attack while behind the wheel. This heart attack caused him to lose control of the vehicle, drift off the road, and hit the tree. The impact caused only minor injuries. The fatal event happened inside his body before the Jeep ever left the road. Savage's arteries were heavily clogged, his cardiovascular system extremely strained. But he had never reported chest pain, dizziness, or heart-related issues. It was a silent danger, a hidden time bomb, and it exploded that morning. The biggest mystery isn't the crash. It's how a lifelong athlete like Randy Savage suffered such an enormous, sudden heart attack without any diagnosis or warning. Medical examiners found that his arteries were over 90% blocked, meaning he had been living under extreme cardiovascular risk for years. So why didn't he know? Why wasn't there treatment? Some believe his intense lifestyle in wrestling, combined with years of physical stress, might have damaged his heart more severely than he realized. Others suggest genetics played a major role. And then there are the darker theories speculation that Savage may have been hiding symptoms, pushing through pain, or avoiding doctors because he didn't want to face a diagnosis that could change his life forever. As with many celebrity deaths, speculation grew rapidly. Some fans found the timing suspicious. Savage had been planning a significant comeback at the time public appearances, a renewed connection with fans and new business ventures. He rarely spoke about health problems and seemed relatively stable. So how could he suddenly have a death-level heart attack? Another theory floated online suggested the crash was staged or that deeper issues were at play. While investigators debunked these claims and confirmed a natural medical cause, the lack of warning signs, the suddenness, and Savage's notoriously private life only fueled more mystery. Wrestling fans accustomed to dramatic storylines found it difficult to accept such a quiet, unseen cause. The wrestling world shook to its core. One of its most iconic, most colorful stars was suddenly gone. Tributes poured in. Fans around the world mourned the man whose voice, energy, and insane athleticism had defined their childhood. For many, the most heartbreaking moment was remembering his storyline love with Miss Elizabeth and the tragedy of losing both legends. Savage's death also sparked conversation about wrestler health and the long-term effects of extreme performance lifestyles. Many questioned whether the wrestling industry had provided enough medical support to its aging icons. Even years later, Savage's passing remains one of the most emotional losses in pro wrestling history. Randy Savage left behind more than championships and fame. He left an energy, a style, a personality that no one has been able to duplicate. His promos became legendary. His voice became iconic. His moves became unforgettable. Even in death, his legacy continues to grow. Fans celebrate him, chant for him, create tributes, and keep his memory alive through generations of wrestling lovers. Though his death was sudden, tragic, and deeply mysterious, his life continues to inspire millions. The Macho Man may be gone, but his spirit, his colors, his madness, and his magic live on forever.